All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us for, my favorite session of the year, which is my tech predictions for 2022. Thanks for joining us today, taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend it with us in that thought leadership space. We're trying to, here at Elevity, continue to be at the forefront of where we see technology going. Not so that we're always bleeding edge, but we need to have vision into where technology, the industry, where technology demands are going, so that we can be in the best position to advise your business and your personal lives and how to be aligned to where technology is headed, right? My whole career, I've spent time kind of doing trend analysis and trend spotting, if you will, always trying to find where our industry is headed, because that is the exciting thing about technology is it's never standing still, and it kind of either run you over or you can run alongside it if you're ready and you kind of can spot the signs of where it's going from technology space. So again, thank you for joining us today. I think you'll find it a valuable topic and one of my favorites to present on each year. Again, my name is Paul Hager. I am the Director of Solutions here at Elevity. It's my job to do this, to have our technology that we offer here at Elevity, my Emerging Solutions Evaluation Committee, always be looking at where technology is headed and how we best align our customers, our clients, and our prospects to succeed and thrive through the changes that are coming in technology. So, like each year, we're going to kick this off with looking back at some things that we know and then looking at the trends that I spotted for 2021 and then seeing how I did. Kind of put it on the truthometer and then press into some what I see in 2022 and beyond. So things that I think we already know, right? Are trends that we've already spotted or talked about. If you've been with me or seen this presentation, which I think I've given for probably 5 years now, at the UW and at a range of industries and events around the United States. Some things that we've already identified over the last 5 years is AI and machine learning, right? This is infused into our everyday life, right? You experience this if you are an Office 365 customer and you get those daily insights or their Cortana daily briefings. This again is AI at its finest and machine learning, the technologies born in the cloud that are able to analyze mass amounts of data and make predictions and suggestions based on that, right? My Amazon package didn't deliver on time this week, and you're talking to an AI chatbot to try to get your delivery back on time. It's in every part of our life. I stepped on a smart scale this morning and the app predicts where my weight loss journey is going to go, right? It's a part of everything that we do now. We've just accepted that AI is a part of our day-to-day lives. And in that data sciences, right, the looking at the massive amounts, the zettabytes of data that we produce and having, insight into where data is telling us the world is going. And if you have a kid who is going off to college, if they're going to become a software developer or a data scientist, they're going to be, or a data security person, they're going to be in good hands. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those trends as well. The blockchain, right, really became popularized with cryptocurrency, which had a rough week this week. Again, cryptocurrency, most of the dollars in that are dollars in organized crime and money laundering, not where I would place my individual personal dollar bets. This week kind of shows how volatile that industry is. But the technology behind it, right? The idea that there should be a public and immutable ledger, right? So how much money you have in your bank today, really, in the most part, is trusting a database that lives at your bank, because that database is really the true and authentic ledger. And we spend a ton of time protecting that one single source of truth, that one ledger. What blockchain challenged us with and what cryptocurrency challenged us with is the concept of what if we shared, it's all encrypted, so you don't know whose bank account it is, you're just a series of numbers and letters. But what if that ledger was public? What if we put that information out to the world and had to have a quorum of computers agree that that was a valid transaction? And that way we wouldn't have a single point of failure. We wouldn't need to protect and add DR services and protect the holy grail of one point of data. The flip side of that is transaction times are slow and the cost of interacting with the blockchain to do a cryptocurrency transaction is very high. And it's why your kids can't get graphics cards for their computers, because joining bit mining rigs that contribute computing power towards these transactions against the ledger are needed in order for the crypto market to stay functional. But there are corporate blockchains. There are Azure blockchain, there's AWS blockchain, there's Google blockchain, and those are powered by real true public clouds. And those, the idea of that immutable ledger can be leveraged into technology today. The new instances of this is in NFTs, non-fungible tokens, taking a digital asset like the actual original video of a Jordan dunk. That video is all over the internet. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. It's been clipped, it's been YouTubed, it's been tweeted, it's been Vined, it's been all of the things, MySpace, whatever. It's in all of those copies, but to own the right, to say you own the original Jordan dunking video, that is a NFT, a non-fungible token, that you can store your claim to that in the blockchain. And now people are selling the rights to those digital assets. It's another form, another iteration of cryptocurrency, another iteration of taking wealth and putting it into non-real currencies, into a virtual world. And those things will continue to have value and will sometimes have crazy values as long as people are willing to transact real dollars out of single ledger bank accounts and convert it into blockchain related technologies. But if you want to go down a rabbit hole for the rest of your day, uh, Google NFTs or non-fungible tokens and see what people are paying for digital assets today. And then 5G, it's every other commercial as you're watching football. I'm a Packer fan, so I stopped watching football. Football is functionally over for me at this point. It's dead to me. We'll talk about it again in 6 months. But if you were to watch a game, every other commercial would be about 5G. I think we spotted that trend, and we spotted in the consumer lane. In the business lane, it is still being held up. We still need more infrastructure. Overseas, Asia is already launching 6G. They're on to the next generation of this technology. But here in the United States, we're still just at the tip of the iceberg, but we're starting to see it, right? You can buy a home 5G router for $50 a month that delivers faster internet than you could get on a cabled connection. That is the start of a shift. And just the fact that we can get low latency, high amounts of data into places is just opening up the opportunities. We have a client that needed to protect a building, a job site, because they were being required. They needed to be able to tag and use computer vision to tag every vehicle that went in and out of a job site. That job site barely has power, and it definitely doesn't have internet yet. 5G makes it possible to have high definition video with machine learning tagging every license plate going in and out of a job site and putting it in a ledger. So 5G is absolutely innovating and making changes in our world today. So we're going to review how it did in 2021, and 2021, a strange year, another year under the pandemic that we had. So my first prediction was that work freedom technologies, the fancy word for what we're on right now, Microsoft Teams and Zoom, are going to dominate 2021. Right. So I started last year with this statement from Dorsey of Twitter in May, really in May of 2020 at the time, I believe. Maybe it was 2021. It was back in 2020. That's right. He sent a company-wide email signing with a heart emoji, love where you work. If you're in a role in a situation that enables you to work from home, and you want to continue to do so forever if you want. That statement kind of hung out there in the world, and we all kind of went, okay, it's fun to be able to get snacks from our own fridge whenever we want to, but when will the world change, and how would we come back to the office? I think I did pretty well. Maybe this was an obvious one to guess, but it has just been a massive increase in global MAU, or monthly active users, when it comes to the top video conferencing app platforms. So Zoom, Teams, and Google Meet. And I said these would have to innovate in order to keep up, and that our innovation was not coming back, right? At the time, 35% of America's workforce was working from home. That we've blown by those numbers, and I've updated ones for that. People just picked up the technologies that they had and had to make systems work while they were remote. And there was going to be a new wave of digital transformation, and more replatforming was going to come from people being forced into it. And we definitely have results of TechTrends surveys that have helped us see how fundamental this world has changed. At the time we launched this, I did this last webinar. I probably still did it on Zoom. I'm doing it today on a Teams webinar with a virtual box video next to my presentation, right? These technologies did not exist 12 months ago. Microsoft went out and shifted all of their software development workforces into Azure or Teams. It was into collaboration tools because Teams had some work to catch up. They had to get into 64 box. They had to support more than 1,000 users. They had to have features like we have today where we can force you all onto mute and deliver a webinar, registration pages. All of that innovation had to come. That was in a roadmap for Microsoft, but not as fast as where they ended up having to deliver it at. So all of that means we're continuing to have to evolve our businesses around what our expectations of employees. How do we train managers, let alone how we train managers in a new work from home world where they can't walk over to the desk of their team members and provide them direct guidance, or have inspection, make sure that they're doing the work that we expect them to do. Because of all this, we know that Microsoft has announced their new commerce platform, where they're raising the pricing of the Microsoft Office 365 suite on a month-to-month basis because Microsoft has had to lean so far into this from a cost and development standpoint. They're needing to increase their cost of their solutions while they're providing more value. They deployed over 350 new features last year, and cost didn't change. Cost hasn't changed for Microsoft Teams for many years. In fact, they gave E1s away for free during the pandemic up to 1,000 users to make sure people could continue to operate and their businesses continue to function. But now we're at a point where if you want monthly cloud-like up and down consumption, they're going to increase the pricing of that solution. And then we have just the economy we're in where inflation is on the rise, things cost more, and we have all the supply chain issues that we have today. So what would the 2021 office look like, right? I think it was going to be competing against home offices, and that was absolutely true. People are going to have to be attracted back to their business. Here within our corporate office, we added soft spaces and couches and bar tables and TVs and made a lounge and continue to try to bring some of the best elements of what we enjoyed from working from home back to the office where we have greater access to the technology that we need and greater access to the people that we interact with. I really enjoy all the digital conversations that I'm able to have, and thankful for the technology that's been available to us to continue to operate and help our clients. But I still appreciate the ability to pass someone in the hallway and ask them how they're doing, how their family's doing, and get into those side conversations that are just hard to replace in digital. And I can't tell you the number of meetings I've had now in person with our clients that I've said, this is just one of those conversations. We could have done it remotely, but it was better to have it in person, to meet new people, to share our value. And now that seems like a luxury. Like that's a real gift of your time. Every time our clients spend time with us, it's a gift of their time, and it's that we're asking for the most valuable thing from you. When we choose to come to you and take that travel time, it's our way to show the value that we instill in our relationship and the time that we need to take with you. COVID-19 has, without question, had a major impact on technology, but also how businesses are evaluating and implementing changes. We thought that there was time to figure out how to do remote work and collaboration, that VDI would still be able to be this back burner thing, that we'd eventually need to figure out how to make VDI work on any device using any technology. That was expected to be a multi-year project for a lot of businesses, and it became a 10-day project or initiative. So this study by McKinsey and Company showed how much time to respond to implement changes accelerated. What was the acceleration multiple into different areas of technology? And COVID pushed into these areas way more than we thought, remote work being and collaboration being a big portion of it. But right next to that is a digital experience from consumers, that you would have to transition a certain portion of your business to be maybe even less on the phone, but certainly much less in person, and digital signatures or digital storefronts, or having to fundamentally reevaluate how your company interacts with your end customers. Increasing the usage of advanced technologies like AI, machine learning, increasing their usage in business making. As you see, doing migrations to the cloud, right? If you were already in the cloud, we had some clients that had been early adopters and were all in on the cloud already. Even if they had legacy systems, they had migrated those to Microsoft Azure and made those available. When COVID hit and they sent people home, laptops were there, things were in the cloud, and they were able to, for the most part, not skip a beat. So, these things we think about as natural disasters. What if our business has a fire? What if it floods? What if we lose power for an extended period of time? Those were the disasters we used to think about, and they'd have high impact but really low likelihood. Now, a public health crisis is something that we need to plan for, maybe again and into the future, and it's going to be a part of our business continuity plans going forward. So, how do we make sure we're ready, and how do we make sure that our people can continue to deliver the service that they need to, whether that be as a nonprofit serving our communities or for profit, in order to maintain jobs and keep families having food on the table and mortgages being paid? You'll see supply chain is on this list of acceleration, and you'll see increased spending in data security. The bad guys saw this window as people just picked up stuff and took it home. They saw that as an opportunity, and they leveraged that opportunity to continue to increase the amount of cyber attacks and the sophistication of their attacks. And that's something we're going to have to respond to within our industry. So to kind of follow up that, CNBC in April of 2021, according to this Infotech TechTrends 22 survey, said that 18% of employees want to return to the office full time, but 70% of employers want people back in the office, right? So we have this tension between our businesses and our people. And so 79% of organizations will have a mix of people in office and at home. And I think this is the state of where we are at. I mean, this is 79% is way over the 35% we thought we were going to be at. But we're going to have a hybrid workforce. Even the most we love our office spaces and we want people back approach organizations will have to have more flexibility. And in some industries, it's just a requirement. You won't hire people if you don't give them some level of flexibility in where they're going to work, because it's been 2 years and some people have fundamentally changed their priorities. They may take less money to have more freedom to work from home, avoid the commute, be there with their dog, all the things that working from home has fundamentally changed. So my second prediction from 2021 was that the Internet of Behavior, IOB, or the Internet of Business, sometimes as it's called, was going to have a big year, right? So this obviously coming off the back of kind of this prediction of an increased digital economy growing, I thought that the Internet of Business and behavior would continue to accelerate. And I think we did pretty well on this one as well. We saw the pandemic's impact on this technology, the use of facial recognition as there was in New York during many of the protests that came about. We are not in a world without political strife or challenges, and the ability to identify people from a health and risk perspective is going to continue to put pressure on our public agencies that now have ready access to really adept facial recognition technologies because of all the things we've already spotted, right? AI, machine learning, computer vision has extended, and computing power has extended as well. So I think we did okay here too, right? Gartner predicted by the end of 2025, more than one half of the world's population will participate in at least one commercial or government Internet of Behaviors program. You are contributing your data via your apps and your phone and your health data and your fitness trackers, all in ways that help companies better advertise to you, better offer things to you, better know what your pattern of life is and what it is that you're going to need next. And people are definitely spending more time in front of their screens and in social media than ever before. And, trust me, I've experienced in my own life, right? It starts to figure out where you're going and what in the digital economy to offer to you. And this again is accelerated in a post-pandemic world. So this question that was again asked in this Infotech survey, Tech Trends report, was how much do you expect your organization to change permanently compared to how it was operating before the pandemic? Only 7% of respondents said no change. 33% said a bit of change, some ways of working will shift long term. 47% said a lot of change. The way we work will be different in many ways long term, but our business is still fundamentally the same. And I think this is true, right? We're still going to deliver the same fundamental things, but how we work, how we deliver it, how we manage that is going to be a permanent change. And then there's that 13%, way more than no change, right? Nearly double that say it's been transformative. Our business is different. What we offer is different. Our solutions are different. All of that has had to change. So about half of IT professionals expect a lot of change in the way we work, and so that's the majority overall. So if we're doing the same things in technology that we were a year ago or 2 years ago in particular, then we're probably on that treadmill moving the wrong way. And it's why IT budgets need to align to that pace of change and the update that's going on within our industry. So we're decades into this information age. If you've been with me for a long time, I've talked about, the first through third and fourth industrial revolutions that we're a part of. Now our economy can adapt without physical assets being changed or new inventions. We can invent things in software. And IDC, so IDC, Forrester, Gartner, McKinsey Company, all these organizations that kind of do these studies and are bellwethers to what's going on in the industry, predicts that by 2025, the average connected person will have one digital data interaction every 18 seconds from one of the billions of IoT devices expected to generate over 90 zettabytes of data in 2025. These data interactions are informing how we work, learn, shop, and maintain our health and well-being. The last 18 months, the global pandemic has been a catalyst for accelerating business transformation and ushering in an increasingly important obligation to make and deploy smarter technology. And you can see the percentage of average of customer interactions that are digital globally is up. In America, it's significantly up. And this technology acceleration by COVID-19 has really pushed this in a very rapid way. My third and final prediction from 2021 was to see the rise of distributed cloud. So I was trying to trend spot a few different things coming together, right? The self-healing nature of cloud, smaller office footprints, the rise of IoT and IoB, the rise of 5G, meaning we could have more interesting, smaller devices at the edge, and technology being ready from a solid state hard drives are small enough, things are cheap enough, software has gotten smart enough that we would really be able to accelerate this edge computing concept, right? So yes, we need some of these centralized systems and databases, but we also have tons of data down at the edge. So we have tons of data in our manufacturing machinery on our shop floors that are spitting off data that maybe we're not collecting today, or if we are, we have to get it all the way back to our central systems and then process it versus processing that data right at the edge. Or that camera example I gave of reading license plates in the field on a 5G connection is a great example of new edge computing. Now our cameras have processors in them and they have solid state hard drives in them so that they can process data at the edge. So we don't need to send large video files all the way back all the time. Saving bandwidth, leveraging our 5G lower latency connection, that is a viable execution of technology now. So this is for video surveillance, it's for public safety, it's for self-driving vehicles, which feel kind of a little bit stalled out. We haven't had a massive move forward since some of the last DARPA challenges. And it still isn't being widely adopted. It's creeping into more cars, which is it moving along, but maybe not at the pace we initially thought. But 5G in vehicles will continue to push that, will accelerate that. And these are chip upgrades that we can do. We're building copiers, we're building cars, all to have some sort of field upgradability because we know that the technology advancements are continuing to come along. One of those advancements is our friend right here. This is a 3-node hyper-converged cluster. You can run 25 virtual desktops on this. You can run servers on this, and you can do it all from an Intel NUC that's about the size of my hand, and has only a single network port for all storage traffic, for all front end traffic. And you can interconnect these nodes with just USB 3 lightning cables. And this could be field replaced by a barista in a Starbucks because we could push the computing at store level and retail down and make it so easily and consumable. That is cloud made fractional, made small enough, made cost effective enough, and put at the edge. So we think this will be a growth year. and it was in 2021. It will continue to be. 77% of respondents to a survey said they expect to see much more or somewhat more spending on future edge projects in 2022. 74% of respondents have an edge project already underway today. So we see edge computing, 5G, blockchain, AI, machine learning, all in these growth modes. So what will 2022 bring us, right? Other than I can't predict when a global health crisis will truly ever come to an end, but it's changed the world for the different, and our technology and our businesses won't be the same, and we will have to adapt to that. So what are some trends that we're going to press into 2022? Before I get into that, one of the classic moves, but before we get into that, I want to just highlight this McKinsey company study that just asked the question about executive mindsets on technology as it relates to the strategic importance after a crisis like we've had, right? If you go back and ask the same question in 2017, 48% of respondents said scaling down IT costs was a top 3 digital priority. I'll say that again. In 2017, 48% of respondents thought reducing cost was a top 3 digital priority. Now, post-pandemic, post-seeing when society changes and presses on our business, how much technology can be critical, not only an ally, but a strategic advantage, you can see that 30% of respondents said modernizing core technology capabilities, servers to virtualization, virtualization to hyperconverged to cloud, replatforming, 30%, still a big number that are modernizing just their core infrastructure, still going on. But even bigger, 38% of that group says they're investing more in technology to make them have a competitive advantage. And that's where we want our clients to be. How do we make technology a competitive advantage for you and your business? How does technology, not just how do we reduce your renewals on certain software packages for next year, but how do we make it a competitive advantage? How do we keep you in business and ahead of your competition where they may be faltering? Where you can offer a digital and better experience to your clients, where your employees are happier and more productive wherever they need to work. 19%, still a pretty big number, are refocusing their entire business around digital technologies. That's how much this map has changed in a post-pandemic world. So keep that in mind, your frame of reference for your organization as you go back to your businesses. Maybe you're the business owner, maybe you're an IT leader. But know that industry-wide, there is a shift in focus, and you need to convey that message if you are the technical leader presenting technical concepts to the non-technical leadership in your organization to say the industry is pressing into digital transformation. That isn't just a phrase we use to talk about an Office 365 migration that you did hopefully years ago. It's we need to think about how technology can deliver a better service, how it can make us more efficient, make our people be able to work better, and have a better quality of life. You may need to invest in technologies to provide better quality of life because the market, at least in Wisconsin, we just got a report that hit the news this week that I think unemployment is under 2.25% in Wisconsin right now. That's across the board, not even in technology. But there is absolutely a work shortage. So you're going to need to compete for top talent. Technology is going to be one of the ways that you show your business is ready for the next phase and compete for that talent to leverage that technology to improve their business. So bold prediction number 1, we're going to talk about a bunch of acronyms and we're going to try to clear up some stuff about some security buzz terms, but absolutely security operations centers, SOARs, zero trust. This is going to be a big focus, an area of growth in 2022. And why do I think cybersecurity is in these new areas, this extension of cybersecurity that goes even beyond just having antivirus software or even enhanced detect and respond EDR software? It's because we have a few things going on right now all at the same time, right? Always trying to trend spot what's changing and what does that mean is going to happen 1, 2, 3 years down the road. So first of all, the bad guys leaned in. Lots of people have paid ransoms, and those dollars were paid by cyber insurance companies in a lot of cases, paid on the backs of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses, right? Like we had in Colonial Pipeline. And that money has fueled growth of that industry. There is an industry overseas predominantly that there are now manufacturers of ransomware software. And then there are small businesses that subscribe to that ransomware software receive software updates for their ransomware. They get support for their team in deploying ransomware. And then there are small businesses that just break into your networks and get credentials from your lazy end users that repeat their passwords at their, you know, online shopping latest Shopify fad that came up in Instagram. They repeat that password in your corporate network, and people don't hack in, right? They log into your network predominantly. And once they get logged in and they share that risk now with your business, there are small businesses, small organizations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, organized crime groups. They're criminals, right? But they are small businesses. Um, and they just get those credentials and they sell that access to another small business that's buying the ransomware software and getting support on the ransomware software using that password they got from the other small business and turning that into ransom. So they're investing dollars, right? They're paying $50 to rent the ransomware software. They're buying an identity for $10 or a password, and they're taking that risk that they will get into your small business and into your network. And once they're in, they need to get a return on that investment. They need to lock all your files, and they know that we don't have the people available. We have lots of technologies, a really fractured security space. We don't have the bodies, we don't have the people available to keep eyeballs on all of these systems. You can have the best smart locks, the fanciest locks in your house, but when you go to bed at night, do you know that all those doors are locked? And it takes people and it takes even more advanced technologies to cull through all that data. And that's why I think we're going to see a continued boom in security as a service in 2022. And the industry is responding to this, right? The overall market grew by 592% over the last 10 years. It's about a $425 billion industry as of 2021, and we're still not all the way through the hockey stick. You've been a client of ours, you've seen these reference points because they are still true from a Verizon breach report, right? 96% of data breaches, or 96% increase in data breaches in 2020, that increased to 118% in 2021. 47% of organizations say they're able to address most or all of the security alerts that they get, right? So even if you put the right tools in place, as we meet businesses, small, mid, and enterprise, that on a weekly basis, one of the questions we're asking them is, are you gathering these security information events? Are you gathering log data? Sometimes the answer is no, we don't have the people or the technology. The other time is yes, we're gathering it, but we don't have the people or staff to be able to actually respond to all the data that these tools are starting to tell us about. And then we still have this very scary, but whether you consider it 315 days, I've seen everything from 270 to 325 days before it takes us to identify an attack in our environment. The day that you get the ransomware notice is not the first day they've been in your environment. Most likely they've been in your environment for much longer, and it's the last thing that they do after they've exfiltrated data, learned about all your users, read some of their emails, learned who your vendors are, gotten all into your supply chain processes, that they finally put up the ransomware notice to try to turn that into a quick hit ransom, return on their investment, take those dollars, hire more people, buy more ransomware software. And all along the way, they're super helpful when you do get ransomware. They have live chat services built into the ransomware platform now, and they've even outsourced that chat so that these ransomware mass providers, these larger scale bad guys, can provide support for the smaller scale bad guys. So they don't need to staff 24/7, 365 to provide you support on how to get Bitcoin in order to pay that ransom. This that insurance part in the middle, we saw the Government Office of Accountability, the GOA, say that with the surges in ransomware, with the amount of payouts that have occurred, expect 30 to 50% price hikes on your cyber insurance. So as these renewals come up, we see it. We see forms of this every single week for our clients, our forward-thinking clients that are engaged with us on a strategic level about their security posture when it comes to technology. We're seeing some some insurance companies just get out of the cyber game entirely, right? The money isn't there because they're having to pay out. We've had fairly predictable weather patterns, right? If you're an insurance company and you pay out when there are tornadoes and wildfires, in general, we've been able to predict weather patterns to a degree over a long period of time. This isn't predictable. At any moment, you could get ransomware. We work with some private equity firms that engage with us as a part of the closing process in the final pre-acquisition phase. And these forward-thinking PE firms have brought IT folks like us to the table as a part of the confidential business close to sign off and say that there is risk or is not risk, because if you do an acquisition, it could be the day after your acquisition that you get ransomware and the value of that business is gone because they are held hostage. And so organizations, even PE firms, even investment banking, want to make sure that every door is locked and everything is accounted for, and that you qualify and have a valid cyber policy to reduce the risk of a business closing event from a cost perspective. So again, all of that volatility meant some people exited this market. People were offering cyber insurance before. And the last step we're seeing is they're starting to learn. Insurance companies mainly run off actuarial tables. Predominantly, your rate today is coming from the total number of client records you have, and really how much total revenue is in your business is where they're assessing your risk. But they are starting to get smart. They're talking to people in the industry. They're starting to refine those questionnaires, and your rates will be dependent on. And now we are starting to see your ability to even get cyber insurance on your next renewal will depend on whether you have checked certain boxes from a cybersecurity perspective. And this topic, I don't have enough time in this predictions to go into it. I have a slide at the end. Myself and some other experts from the industry that know this are just going to dive into this cyber insurance topic a little bit in February here, in just a few weeks. So I'll post that registration link because I'd love to dive into this even deeper. But just know that this industry is changing and your response to it needs to change. If you're in IT, you need to be ahead of this, talking to your CFO or your financial people to say, look, your renewal is going to be vastly different from a pricing perspective. But more than that, we need to be ahead of the requirements that are going to be in there for a couple of reasons. One, you need to maintain cyber insurance. It's a good idea. It's the ultimate backstop to prevent your business doors from closing if you have a cyber event. But two is, what you don't want to have happen is, here's the 30% increase in your cyber policy, and now you need to spend an unbudgeted 25, 50, 100, 5,000, whatever it is, to remediate to even get up to an insurable level. So you may need to start working towards being at an insurable level of cyber security in your own business now, so you're ahead of that. 92% of businesses have a security or particularly cloud security readiness gap. So you've moved everything to the cloud, but did you secure it? Can your employees share confidential and critical information without you knowing about it? And 41% of businesses say that cyber resilience is not improving because they're losing and can't maintain skilled staff. So we have the staff problem, right? If we go back to the things that we're trend spotting as really a challenge for this industry. So what the industry had done is they produced SIMs, right? They produced a security information and event management tool, a thing that automated some monitoring, automated some response to threats, and it made it affordable. Now, a SOC, having an actual team of people, that's really expensive, right? You need humans to constantly monitor the tool, to have a threat response, to have 5 to 8 in-house security experts, and the costs increase as you add more volume to all the storage of all the things that you're doing. And so for some businesses, they're reeling and going, oh my gosh, every new thing we get has more log data. More data means more people, more storage, and everything on the security side just continues to seem to grow and grow and grow. And that's why this modern SOC or a modern SIM needs to become security as a service. This is why, Elevity is the word elevate and security brought together. We saw this starting to come together 2 years ago, that the industry was going to need new skills, new alliances, and new technologies. And that's why our emerging evaluation committee came up with the 4.0 version of our solution offering and the Elevity Security Fabric that includes the people, the strategic outsourcing, the strategic leadership and guidance and strategy pieces from our virtual CIO team, and ultimately the tools of a modern SIM in order to bring that all together. We're hearing a lot about this new buzzword, zero trust. What is zero trust? Why is this another area of growth? And why do you think it's going to be an area of growth in 2022, Paul? So first of all, zero trust is is in large part just a industry buzzword, right? It's like cloud was years ago, right? Zero trust, zero trust. Do you have zero trust? Is your business zero trust? It's becoming just another set of words to throw around. So let's just talk about what it really is. Zero trust at its core is the concept that ultimately the bad guys want your identity. Once they have your identity, how much and how wide can they leverage that identity to do bad things with your environment? And so this isn't a change. It's not like zero trust is something you need to go buy. You're not going to Google buy zero trust stuff, right? It's really a focus on, because hackers don't break in, they log in. Where is your identity at in its security lifecycle, and what tools do you have in place in order to help you manage that? Any tool which helps improve your identity management, passwords, mobile device management, two-factor authentication, passwordless logins, those are all paths to zero trust. Those are all zero trust technologies. You all are probably implementing some form of zero trust technology today. Office 365 in and of itself has built-in zero trust technology. So you you all probably check a box and are on this path. But I think the focus of zero trust at its core is good, which is, what do you have access to once someone bad logs in as you, and how do we limit that, and how do we send up red flags, and how do we get people's eyeballs on those red flags to respond to it? I think that's really the maturity. And what I don't want our clients to do is feel like they need to go buy a thing, and so they go buy some tool that says it's a zero trust tool without having the people and the process again behind it. That's just another door that you need to check to make sure it's locked. On the flip side, we do need to make sure that multi-factor authentication is across everything in your organization. Everything must prompt you for a second factor. But we can use things, we can use contextual access, right? So let's walk through these steps. If your organization today still has an on-premise Active Directory where no one is prompted for two-factor ever in their organization, there's no integration to the cloud for that, and people have passwords on sticky notes and Excel documents and a bunch of bad places, you're at step zero, fragmented identity. It's not a matter of if, it's a when your business is going to have a major compromising event. Got to get out of stage zero. Stage one is you're starting to have a unified identity management platform. So you have single sign-on tools, like maybe Azure Active Directory is in place for your employees and your contractors. You've got multi-factor authentication running on that, and you're starting to get unified policies going. Stage two is you take all of that, and now we have some context to it. So maybe we don't need to prompt for multi-factor if you're behind the corporate firewall, right, with your device. But we're still adding some context to that to kind of continually evaluate it. Multiple factors are being deployed, and you're starting to do adding automation to your deprovisioning. So when you remove a user from Active Directory, it's going out into your cloud services and deprovisioning them to make sure you haven't left over a prior employee in an old system, because every new employee's got all these cloud identities to it. And that final phase is starting to get to true frictionless access. So having a passwordless environment where there isn't really an embedded password behind it. It's just your face, it's just your thumbprint, that is less hackable. And then what are we doing to monitor all that, to be adaptive, to say, okay, this is Jill's identity. Jill did two-factor login, but she just did it from Brazil when she normally does that in Dallas. That seems odd. We need to be adaptive to what's going on there. And Jill hasn't accessed this area of Microsoft Teams in a long time. So let's just block that for a while. And if she really needs it, let's have her request it from IS again. Let's put some gates along the way so that if a bad guy does get by all things the tools have, they can't go encrypting the whole network, because no one should have access to every file in the network when they only touch 10% of the network. My second big prediction for 2022 is the growth of low code and no code. Many of you may not be in development today, but this world is changing. We are seeing a massive increase in applications being developed at the business layer, not by application developers, right? So low code, no code means that if you have two cloud applications now, or even a cloud and a premise application that you want to integrate, you don't need to go get a development company to write custom software anymore. There are low code options that have pre-built connections to those APIs where you just need to provide the logic. You need to say, line up the customer record that I have over here in this system with the customer record I have in this system, and you, the business person, know that what the name and the email address to link to all of that is, and the tools are already 90% or 99% built and ready to do that. Why do I think low code and no code is primed in 2022 and beyond? Because there are 500,000 computer science jobs open, and it's projected to grow at still double. So we have a gap here. We have a gap in security. We have a gap in what we need for software developers, and it's getting worse, and the demand is getting higher. The average salary then, because of supply and demand, is well over $100,000 a year and will continue to climb to a point where paying for custom development will only be affordable to the largest of the large organizations. So that's going to drive people towards low and no code tools, which people might have seen as, well, I can't really use something off the shelf, or I can't trust something that I just plug in my Office 365 login here and my CRM login there. But 96% of businesses that don't use no code tools say they're willing to be using them in the future. So if you think about this as traditional code, right? All processes must be coded specifically by highly skilled developers. Low code basic functions can be kind of just visually pieced and blocked and required together with maybe just a little bit of coding engineering skill. Think like Microsoft Excel level, you need to know some formulas, all the way to no code, where all the workflows can be done with no lines of code ever written. It can be easy to make changes, you can test things and deploy them. To kind of break this down, something that's a good example of this, a company called Zapier has been around for a long time, just connects two cloud-based things. It could be as simple as someone fills out my type form or forms in Microsoft Office 365, send a notice in Slack, or send a notice in Slack because our coders use Slack, and Teams because our back office still use Teams, right? So there's lots of ways that you can now interconnect, and Zapier connects with thousands of applications and platforms, and they're just one company in the low and no code business that can empower your business, this where you're double entering stuff, where you're not having connected data, to have connected data at price points that weren't possible before. Accelerate those projects, bringing together those solutions much more rapidly in your business. So look for these opportunities, look for the rise of these low and no code solutions on top of Microsoft Azure has a great low code offering in just their Azure IoT and Azure Files, but even down into Zapier, into where do you have people re-entering? How do you increase digital transformation? How do you get away from paper? This all kind of ties together into what's going on that we see within the industry. And my last big prediction for 2022 and beyond is going to be the rise of MCMS, multi-cloud management services. So what is this? Multi-cloud management services are, we now are seeing as an industry, people have moved some or a portion of their business to the cloud. Some have predominantly moved to cloud, and now they're paying in that consumption model. And now as we see, Microsoft is increasing the pricing of some of that cloud consumption. So we're seeing this term repatriation. Repatriation means we're bringing stuff back from cloud in some cases. So there's all this shift going on. So how do we make that shift much more manageable, right? How do we say, have one pane of glass to all of the things we need to run our business and be able to just drag and drop and move something to public cloud, move it from one public cloud provider to another public cloud provider, build multi-cloud redundancy without the complexity, without requiring expensive engineers and management. So I think this is an area, as we see Grand View Research saying in a new study that they think that there is an acceleration factor that's going on, and I agree, in multi-cloud management. People are kind of afraid of vendor lock-in. They're afraid of, and Microsoft's price change, AWS's outages, and the fact that they may go back to selling books at any moment. Bezos lost, I think, 20 billion in cryptocurrency in the last week. All of those things might have you skeptical about having all of your eggs in one cloud basket. And you don't want to be locked into one vendor. You want to have portability. You want to be able to move your applications around. You want to optimize cost, right? Maybe you've made a move to cloud, but you really run that workload 24/7, 365. So maybe from a cost perspective, it's time for that to come back because it'll be cheaper in a co-location environment. And then availability, right? December 2021. We had this day around December 8th, I think it was, Amazon's AWS outage took down Adele, Netflix, Tinder, and it could have been worse than taking Tinder down, right? Like, oh my gosh, everything is down. The Target app is down. I can't buy groceries instantly and have them delivered to me. This was a major outage. It was 2 to 8 hours, depending on where you were. They lost an entire East Coast Virginia connectivity for a while, ultimately just switching issues and routing issues on physical hardware. You know, as big as the cloud is, it all still lands in data centers and requires people and humans to interact with it. And I think this is just the start of people saying, okay, maybe I can't have all my eggs in one cloud basket, which means I need a system to manage multiple clouds in a much better way. You know, we can't just be looking at Excel dumps of what your consumption charges are in Azure or in AWS. We can't just run RV tools of what's on your premise in servers. We need to start bringing modern tools to automate and be intelligent about how and where you run certain workloads to best utilize the cloud, to best leverage digital transformation. So hopefully that was helpful, and we'll come back in a year and reevaluate where some of these predictions are at. And I know these seem like high level concepts, and maybe you're a small business and you're like, that's not helpful. I just wanted to know when laptops are going to be more available. Well, fun fact, laptops are more available, but their docking stations aren't. And networking equipment is really constrained right now, and that's all just supply chain stuff related to getting over hopefully a public health crisis. But if your organization is feeling like it needs more guidance and more alignment, and you are already one of our clients in our 3.0 or greater fully managed solution, then continue to work with your VCIO. Make sure you're meeting with them every quarter and that you bring your business leadership to those meetings so that we can align your business and find out where your business ownership is and their view of how technology is going to help them adapt in a post-pandemic world. We bring and invite one of our leadership to come, myself, Jeff Dotzler, so that we're a part of those conversations at least once a year to really help set the direction for your organization to make sure it's on the right path. If you're in one of our co-managed programs, you're in our mid-market or enterprise group, you have access to some of the most talented consultants in the market. Josh, Peter, and our solution architect group are phenomenal at what they do, some of the most certified staff. And I work with all those teams and meet with them every week to continue to make sure that as a Levity, we are one cohesive approach to the market and to being ahead of technology trends for you to make sure we have the right solutions for you. So maybe you're a prospect and aren't an Elevity customer, then the place to start is with a T360. Maybe you were an old ITP customer and aren't fully managed with a virtual CIO as a part of your team. A great way to start is with our technology accelerator, our strategy accelerator, or our T360 process to help get you into the programs that some of our more forward-thinking clients have been a part of that really have set their business up to succeed in a different way. And in mid-market, we have security assessments, we have infrastructure assessments, we have cloud readiness assessments. We have all sorts of different ways to help assess where you're at and give you roadmaps. We also sometimes the assessments need to stop and we need to just start executing. That your business already knows where the challenges are. We already know we have a big security gap, and we're happy to just come in and start hitting the ground running and know that we can provide you best in class solutions to move your organization forward in a meaningful way right away from day one. If that cyber insurance topic and kind of the changes going on in that space are of interest to you, please join us on February 3rd. It's going to be myself and a gentleman from one of our partner organizations, Arctic Wolf, one of the fastest growing SOC as a service, SOAR as a service organizations that we've strategically partnered with. But this isn't about a tool. This won't be a discussion about a technology. It's going to be a discussion about our experiences with cyber insurance experts that we interact with on a weekly basis, what they're telling us is changing in the industry here, and how you need to be poised to be ahead of that change so you don't get caught off guard by your next cyber insurance renewal not being able to be renewed, or being in a place where they're giving you, we saw this happen with a client recently, they gave them an ultimatum: you have 30 days to get these technologies deployed or you're not insurable. And that's the unbudgeted, have to speed up spend in a way that might be challenging for a business in short order. So go to always hang out at elevityit.com/events. We'll always have our events. We've got every other week quick chats without the PowerPoint slides. We have thought leaderships like this once a month, and then we bring in strategy and other people. If you join us in those coffee breaks every other week, that's going to get started to be deployed as a podcast, as well as we're starting to invite guest speakers to those that are from outside of Levity, like an insurance agent, somebody from the talent acquisition industry, to just talk about really quickly in 20-minute snippets without a bunch of PowerPoint slides, no PowerPoint at all, just talking through the things that we're seeing and hearing from our small and mid-sized businesses say that there are challenges. So we are always trying to put out great content, even above and beyond the contractual stuff we're doing to help your business. So please join us via one of these avenues. Any questions, you can always reach out to your VCO, reach out to your Levity CSS or SBDM, or feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or phager@elevityit.com, phager@elevityit.com. If you ever have any questions or want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to position your organization for the trends that are coming in 2022 and to be successful. We'll break here and we'll see if we have anything that comes through chat. Otherwise, we'll share the content from today and hope that you engage with us and hope your business has a safe, healthy, and successful 2022.